I wish people would closer to you.
I know, me too. We share space.
Yes.
How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
We've seen you today during the day, so this is nice. This is bigger than our apartment, so I was going to say it's like our living room, but it's really not. I don't know where you guys have all been holed up for the past year and a half, but
Yeah.
we've been in a small apartment, so this is spacious.
Branching out. for
Yeah.
sure.
No, this is, seriously, this is just a Q&A to kind of, hello, just a chat. So here we are. And if you need to move your chairs around or whatever, please do. We all know what we're doing as far as COVID goes. Anyway, I'm Veronica.
I'm Rita.
And we've seen most of you already today, so you probably know that. But really, this is kind of an informal chat. If you guys have questions about things, it may help for hand raising so that we can keep it some kind of order, I suppose. But really, we're here to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So does anyone want to start off with anything? Yes.
I have a short question and a question I want to ask her.
Uh-huh.
First, the short question. In your opinion, like in your mindset of Ash,
Uh-huh.
if Pikachu wasn't an option, what partner would you pick as a Pokemon?
Okay, good question. Now, can everybody hear that, or shall I? Okay, good. Fantastic. And you can hear us, me.
Yeah,
Me? Yes.
small room.
Okay, good.
Why
All right,
not?
great. Who would Ash have picked? Quite honestly, I've never thought about. We recorded that first episode so many times. We had to go back and forth and change things, and I actually never thought about who he wanted, who he was dreaming of, because he got Pikachu. So you guys come sit wherever you want, and if you need to move the chairs so you can sit together, please do. We're just having a pretty informal chat. There's some chairs up here too, chairs over here, so sit wherever you want. So I don't know. I mean, since Ash got the Pikachu, I've never entertained the thought of him getting anything else. I have.
On your way if I'm right here.
Yeah, kinda.
So I don't
Thank
know
you.
that.
Perfect.
Is this connected to that? You don't need this.
No. I'm fine.
Do you need me to be speaking with this, or can I just talk like this?
I think.
What's better?
Yeah, it's the mic. Get over the mic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What do you guys think? Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, he has Pikachu, so I never thought about anything else. Do other people dream about what he would have chosen?
I did think that he would like work pretty well with. Well, I mean, he got all three starters
Eventually. Right.
So I would think that. I personally thought he would already go with probably Charmander since Gary picked Squirtle. That's also kind of how the game works as well.
Right.
Because at the beginning when I was a kid, I always thought that, Ash was red.
Me too. I thought that too.
Yeah.
So we're right.
He eventually got like the whole thing, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Right.
And my second question, the one I wanted to ask you earlier, like I said, I told you, I'm trying to get into voice acting.
Right.
And you did tell me, like making like sort of a, what was it called?
To get a demo reel.
A demo reel?
Yeah.
Is there anything else, any advice you can give to try to get me out there to see if maybe someone want to reach out, or I reach out to somebody, or
Sure.
is there any companies that you recommend?
Okay. Are there other people here who are considering a career as an actor, voice actor? Great. Any artists?
Yeah.
Good. Directors? Musicians? Okay. Awesome. I think overall, the life, as we were talking about, the life of a freelancer is really difficult. And yet, there's nothing more rewarding than having a job doing what you love. So my acting teacher, one that I truly admired, said, and many others have said this, if there's anything you can do more than being an actor, musician, artist, do it. But if that's what you want to do, then what else can you do? You have to pursue your dreams for that. My path was to get as much training, and I continue to do so, as much training as I possibly could. When I was in elementary school, I did every play I could. In high school, every play. I played soccer, I took dance classes, I did improv. I went to college and grad school for acting. I have a bachelor's in acting and a master's in acting. I am a master, actually. I didn't think of it that way before this. But so I really believe in training. I believe in education, because I think an artist, an educated artist is a better artist, because you're able to portray people. You're able to understand ideas for things. Then once you get your training or you're on your path, what do? I think it's very important to have a demo reel. And a demo reel is basically a minute to 2 minutes of what you do best. I think as an artist, you have a portfolio. You have some of the artwork that you do that shows kind of your style, or the styles that you do. As a musician, you have some compositions, or you have yourself playing instruments that you do, or things that you've written. As an actor, you want, a voice actor, let's say, you want to have little bits from work that you've done, voices that you do well. You want to put them on a reel that someone, when you send it off to someone, they can listen to that and hear the kind of voices that you do. So for me, as a girl, people wouldn't really think, oh, I'm sure she does a boy voice. So I would put that on my reel, for instance. The next thing you want to do is network. You network by taking classes with people. Those people can recommend you for work. You meet people at a convention like this, someone who's an artist, they need someone to do voices for something. You volunteer to help them out. They help you, you help them, and you kind of start to increase your network that way. I think it's always important to try to get jobs in the field that you want to be in. If you want to be an actor in films, even working in a movie theater is a good idea, because you're around what you aspire toward. That's the basic things. I think Backstage, that it's now mostly online, but it used to be a newspaper. Backstage has a lot of auditions in it. There's other places online that you can find auditions, but I don't know what they are. I audition through my agent, and I audition through people that I know who recommend me for things. I also want to say, this is such a long-winded answer, I'm sorry about that.
No, this is all
But
right.
the thing to keep in mind that, like, I do a lot of cartoons. If I were only doing cartoons, I would not be able to pay my rent. My career is a web of many different jobs coming together to just have my financial foundation. So I do cartoons, I do video games, audiobooks, I do English as a second language, audio workbook things, I do phone answering systems, I don't even know, radio commercial, so many different weird things that, a lot of educational things, a lot of things for kids. And things, the way things pay is so varied that you can't do just one thing. So I strongly suggest that you all really flesh out all of your talents so that you can do whatever job comes to you, if that makes sense. I would never, ever say, I just want to do voices on cartoons, because it's very hard to have a career that way, for instance. But when you do get something, it's super. It's hard work and super fun. So anyway, there's many, I don't know all the avenues that you personally could pursue, but there are many to pursue, is probably the best way to put it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's 2 hours later, she stopped talking. Yes.
Two quick questions also.
Mhm.
What inspired you to be like a voice actor or doing like voice acting in general?
So I think I did, actually when I was in grad school, I was in a radio play with Wallace Shawn and Alan Rachins, Claire Bloom, Julie Harris. I got cast in that, and I've always listened to radio shows. My dad loved that, and that's just what we've always done. And so to be in that, and then I got to do the main voice over that was in the Batman Stunt Show. I was in the Batman Stunt Show at Six Flags Great Adventure, and then they used that recording for the other Six Flags. So that was my second kind of big voice job on top of doing stunts in the show. So my kind of cartoon career came just as a coincidence. I was working with an acting coach who I went in, let's say it was a Wednesday, and it just happened that on that Wednesday he got a call from someone asking if this coach could recommend someone to do a high-pitched girl's voice. And I had just been there, so he recommended me. So my career just kind of took a turn that way. My interests are in stage and film and TV and voice. So it's not really that I chose to do mostly that, it's that my career took a turn that way.
And last quick question, what made you not give up on voice acting or doing like, kind of like all that you've done? Because our industry is tough and like you're a freelancer, so how did you not give up after the struggle?
How did I not give up? I think, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a good question because if I really tallied up the amount of auditions I've done compared to the jobs I've gotten, it wouldn't seem like a success. So, I would say, I don't know, I really love acting, and I love eating and living in an apartment. So I guess I've just really pursued it. Like when I first moved to New York, I did children's birthday parties. I was a waiter, I did birthday parties, I did face painting and stuff, and I've always just pursued that. And so I guess in some ways I didn't allow myself to believe that I couldn't be an actor. I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think it goes back to the thing of there's nothing else that you can do.
Yeah, I'm very bad at math.
But there's nothing else that you want to do. I mean,
Right.
there's not another career
Right.
that you go, oh, well, if I wasn't an actor, I would do this. Like, there's no alternative.
Yeah.
So you figure it out. I mean, you have to just figure it out.
I think that's it, and I've always just kind of dug around and figured it out, I guess. And I've been lucky to continue to work. But like I said, my career is quite varied. So, like oftentimes on a Monday, I have no work all week, and then things trickle in. So it's really, I grind by the seat of my pants all the time. So. I probably should admit that. I should really admit that. I'm sorry, I know. But it really is, I mean.
But it's important to say, I mean, with that in mind, like the industry is so, volatile, or it's so, yeah, it's so unpredictable. So it's good to, and as artists, I mean, as a stereotype, we're notoriously bad at doing that with like money and things like that. I'm terrible at, math and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's important to save some cash while you can, and like, whatever odd jobs you're doing to get you to the point where you want to be, like you've got to do that. You figure it out. It's hard, but you figure it out.
And I think too, I mean, all of us have gone through so much during the pandemic, and we've seen how things can just crumble in a second. And you realize the importance of your community. And so for me, I do have some great friends that I work with, and also all of us who've been able to touch base online over this year and a half. It's been really incredible to kind of see what's really important. So yeah, I don't know. I guess the short version is I just couldn't give up. And I think too, having a kid, you know, you have to be, who are you responsible to, and if I'm not kind of pursuing my dream, how can I say to her, you know, follow your dreams, do what you want to do what you love, if I'm not able to say, this is what I'm doing too, you know? So having a child definitely changed everything for me in terms of identifying who I am and what am I doing on this planet, in a way. Now we're going deep, really. Yeah. Anyway.
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, sure. Yes?
So who was your biggest inspiration to start voice acting?
Well, I've always loved cartoons. I've always watched Saturday morning cartoons. So I think
All of us are.
yeah, I think the idea of just endless possibilities
Yeah.
that cartoons have, that's my inspiration. And I think before the year 2000, I didn't realize you could really look up people on the internet because there wasn't one, but I didn't really look at all to see who the actors were on cartoons then. So, but my real influences are theater actors. My family's in the theater, and I've always seen plays, and that's a big part of my life. So, just incredible actors have inspired me.
Yeah, because you know, growing up, you know, I just feel like the same thing too. You know, I may have watched a lot of TV as a kid, but I kind of like picked up the, you know, like I want to be an editor, so I picked up, you know, the editing, how they do it.
Yeah.
And I want to know more about all that.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like we all watch a lot of stuff, you know, whether you're watching a game or you're watching a movie or TV, but it's how you watch it is how you learn from it. So you are, I mean, a lot of times we watch the same show, and I can't remember the names of the characters, but I remember how they interacted in the scene. Whereas Rena's, she follows the storyline better, you know, and she talks more about the way the show looked or something. So we watch things in a different way because we watch it for what we need to get out of it. And so for you too, to see how things are edited, or gosh, especially like with TikTok, and then you watch a movie and you see how things are, and it's really fascinating.
Really nice,
Yeah, the variety and
Thank you so much.
yeah. Anyone else? It's funny to see those eyes on your head. I like that. Yes, you had a question? Yeah.
I hear that you're back for the new iteration of Shaman King.
Yes.
Yeah, now that you're back, how's it feel to be back now?
Yeah, it's really
For the
great.
brand new one.
Because I actually didn't know that. I got an email from my agent, because they had gone through agents for that, and I didn't even know what show it was, and so many things are kept secret until you get there, and then you find out what you're working on. And some things I work on, I still don't know what they are, even after, when we find out once they come out that I was actually, oh, that's what that show was called. So things are weirdly top secret. But that, it was really cool that they got most of the original cast, and the story seems pretty cool, and it's out now on Netflix.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll check it out.
I don't even know how many episodes are on. Again, it's all just kind of like, when you're dubbing something, you go in and you just do your lines. So if you have 10 lines in one episode, you only see where your 10 lines are and not the whole show. And so you also don't know what any other characters sound like, and
What's going on?
or what's happening in the thing. So I'm looking forward to watching it to really hear everything. Has anybody else seen it yet?
No.
Did you?
No, not yet. No, I'll
All
get
right,
a
well,
chance
we'll get
to.
together afterwards, and
right there.
They took away the cart.
yeah, that's right, you can't. I'll act it out. Just kidding. I couldn't possibly have mine it. Yes, well, tomorrow. We have the voice acting pit tomorrow. How to create character voices, so I'll do it then. So I think Tamao is kind of, she definitely has a higher voice, and she's you know, she's somewhere up here. I'll have to listen to find out. Yes?
Is there any like shows, anime, or games that you've like, caught up with after you've done acting, like voice acting, like with One Piece or Pokemon?
Pokemon I watched. We watched that when Rita
Yeah.
was little. Ninja Turtles a little bit, but it was a little too violent for our
Yeah.
small living room. For a tiny child, it just didn't work out. We were much more Wings Club
Oh,
when we were
yeah.
little.
And
And
Club,
Fighting Food
I just watched Avatar again, during the pandemic, which was really good, which you weren't in.
No.
But
I don't know why you watched it.
I know.
Growing up,
I was only allowed to watch things my mom was in. We did watch Avatar though back then, but I think.
and other kids WB stuff.
Yeah. So I rewatched that recently.
Oh my God, we could all just sit here and list cartoons that we love for like
I know.
hours.
But we also watched a lot of like old shows on Boomerang.
Yeah, that's true.
That channel. So we did a lot of like Wacky Races and Penelope Pit Stop,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so a lot of things I don't end up watching because I'm working on something else, or because I do a lot of audiobooks, I'm always reading a book to prep it, so it takes a lot of time. We watch mostly British shows now. Yes,
Oh, I love the British shows.
yeah,
But
Good for accents.
I made a comment to you out there. But how does it feel when somebody comments here? How does it feel to know that you were a part of a show that has been watched by generations? So, like my 25-year-old daughter
right,
watched Pokemon. My 16-year-old daughter, and now my 6-year-old grandson,
Right.
and my the 3-year-old grandkid. Like they're all watching the same,
yeah.
Pokemon. Like, how does that feel to know that you were a part of something that's been watched by generations?
It's really amazing. And also, I think even more amazing is that we get to meet and talk about that. I mean, that has had the biggest impact on our lives. To be able to, I go to work and I do something and I come home, or I go on a field trip, and, like that, working on the show in the moment did not have the impact that it does now. Because to hear your stories, or to have been a part of something that has a nugget of truth in it that we can all relate to, is extraordinary.
Like, did you ever think way back then when you were doing this show that it would still all
No,
these? It's just celebrated
definitely
25 years, right?
Yeah, just about. It started in '98 here in the U.S.,
Yeah.
but it's been 25 years
Yeah.
starting from
Like,
when it
did you
aired in
ever
Japan.
think 25 years ago that this would
No.
still?
No! I know, did anybody think that when they were little and started watching the show? Like, it's just amazing to me. But there's something about, I think, that it's a universal humanness that Ash has, and that Journey has, that we could still be here 25 years later talking about it. There's so many things that aren't that way. But I do think, too, that it's really because of the fans, regardless of your age, the fact that there's something that people can identify with, and then make friends and take that along with them. It's incredible. So I feel incredibly lucky to have been cast in it, and to have had that experience, and been able to bring life to some of those characters. It's pretty cool. Yes.
Do you have a favorite Pokemon?
Pikachu.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite voice you've done?
I think definitely Ash, because
to be able to go to a party and be like, hey, yeah,
to talk like Ash is really fun. I played Amelia in Slayers.
her voice is really high, and she was so fun to play, because when you talk this high, it really it makes your head spin.
And so that was fun because she was magical, and I played her at the same time that I was doing Ash, and he really is kind of boring in terms of, he's just plodding along where other people pop in and you get to fight, and that's really fun, but Ash is really normal. And other characters are much more out there. I play Manuela in Fire Emblem Three Houses, and she's just crazy. I know. And she's so needy, and yet she was, gosh, she had such a career, and yet she lacks self-confidence because she chooses the wrong people to fall in love with. And so she's out there. You never know what she's going to do. I mean, if the wallpaper looked at her, she would ask it out on a date. You know? It's crazy like that. So that's been really fun to play. Things like that are just far outside myself. And I, like Ash, am pretty boring. You know? Normal and boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so true. Yes.
On the topic of like, because actually Pokemon was not the first thing I heard you in. When I was a little kid, I used to wake up like Saturday morning to watch 4Kids.
Uh-huh.
And the first thing I ever heard you in was Dinosaur King.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and I just thought it was funny going like, I forget, you played Ash first, right? And then?
Yes, Dinosaur King, we actually were all cast in once we were replaced on Pokemon.
Oh, wow.
So they wanted the characters to sound similar to the characters we had played on Pokemon.
Oh.
So Max Taylor in Dinosaur King does sound similar to Ash Ketchum.
I just thought it was really funny how, like, those two characters, like, you have, like, Pikachu, the electric type, and then you have the Triceratops, that lightning dinosaur.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I thought
Weird
when I put the
coincidence.
put the two together, I was like, man, she has a real thing for electricity.
Totally. I love electricity. Yeah. Yes, that was just a coincidence.
Oh, okay.
But an interesting one, actually. I didn't realize that. Maybe I did, and I forgot. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the dinosaurs having powers.
Yeah, they
I
did
just
stuff.
remember them,
Yeah.
doing that. That was
Yeah, that's very good.
Thank you. I really studied. Studied
Mine.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a question for your daughter. How did it feel to know that your mom was in all of these shows, and especially in Pokemon?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really cool, but growing up, nobody cared. So like, I remember one time, like when I was really little, a couple kids in my class had Pokemon cards, and I was like, oh my god, this will be a great thing. And I went up and I was like, well, you know, my mom's the voice of Ash on the show, and they like looked up and go, okay, cool, and then went right back to doing their stuff. So after that, like nobody in my school, none of my friends cared. Like all of our parents did cool things. Like you always think that what your friends' parents do are way cooler than what your parents do. So like definitely, I thought what other people's parents did was awesome, and I didn't think that what you did was lame, but it just wasn't, it just wasn't,
And Rita has always come to the studio with me, and
So it was just going to work, and that was just it. But then now, as we've all gotten older, and I think more people know about voice actors and like voice acting, I think too with the internet and all that kind of stuff. Some of my friends have come up to me and be like, you didn't tell me your mom had a voice match. And I was like, well, it never came up in conversation. I don't know what to tell you. Or like going, when I was in high school, like a lot, when we would travel, sometimes I would have to leave school, so I would tell my teachers, like, yeah, I'm going to this convention. And some of the younger teachers that I had, I would say, yeah, I'm going, and they go, wait, what? Like, I love an anime. And I said, well, my mom's the voice of Ash. And they're like, that was really cool. So it's gotten,
better.
Yeah, it's gotten better with age, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's been really fun. And I think the great thing is a lot of the shows and things that you work on are really fun. So I love hearing about, like, especially now because I'm, doing my own thing, so I don't come to the studio as much. So I love hearing about what crazy things you got up to, or I love going to work, and so
The biggest problem that we have is that we live in a one-bedroom apartment, and I don't know if you heard, but there was a thing called COVID last year. So the thing is that when you're working from home, Rena has to be really quiet while I'm working.
Yeah, my mom's
And then-
studio is a closet in our apartment. And the padding, the insulation is not so, like, I can't be screaming at the top of my lungs and she can be recording.
Or even talking on the phone.
talking, not even this loud, in the same space, because the mic picks up on everything. Even the woman who comes and vacuums our, like, building
Apartment
every
building.
day, you can hear the vacuum cleaner from outside the apartment while you're inside recording. So you can't make any noise, so it's been one of those where, like,
Torturous.
you just have to be silent for like 10 hours or something.
Right.
So that's been a little hard, but again, it's not the first time. Like sometimes I'd come to work with you before and we'd be in the booth, so I'd have to be quiet like while my mom was recording her lines, and then when it was a break or like direction was being given, then I could breathe, you know. So it's nothing new, but it's just, it all brings its own challenges, which are fun, right? You know, it's always been fun. And it's great to come travel. So it's great to come to conventions and travel and meet people and talk about this kind of stuff, because none of my friends care at all. So it's good to have, you know, community, community that cares about, you know,
How things
what it's
work.
like and all that kind of stuff. So it's been fun.
Anyone else? Yes?
This is for your daughter. Well, it's a good question. For when you were growing up and when your mom was, you know, concerned about like with Pokemon, did you ever collect like the Pokemon cards or any other games?
Yeah, so I couldn't really get into the cards because I'm not great at the mystery element of it. Like, I just want to know what I'm getting, kind of. But I did play
Yeah.
Fire Red, so on the DS. So I have played that, and I can't, well, I did play it a lot, actually, but I got to this point where he's like you're in this haunted, kind of broken down house, you have to do something, and I couldn't get it, and I couldn't figure out how to do it, and then I'm just walking around in the grass, and all these things kept popping up, and I didn't want to battle all the, you know, things in the grass, and so then I just stopped. So I got to a certain point in the game, I didn't finish it, but I would say I got very far, but I have no idea. But yeah, so I did play the game a little bit.
We have some Pokemon stuff at home, but we haven't collected it.
Yes, yeah.
We have more Pokemon stuff than we think we have.
Yes.
As perhaps you can all relate.
And my second question is for you. Do you believe that Ash would have won a Pokemon League more sooner? Because I know he just recently won the most recent one. But
Right.
do you believe that he could have won like another Pokemon League sooner, or what was the whole point of that? You know, like, I understand that they want to keep prolonging the show,
Right.
and that's why they kept making him lose, like in the top four or such to that. But what was that, like, the whole point about that? Like, do you think he could have won sooner, or?
Well, yeah,
If you were voicing him, he would.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's probably why he couldn't win. I think that I didn't realize, as the voice of Ash, that he lost so much. I just didn't know. I thought he won a lot more than he did. But I guess it just goes to show you that it's not really whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. And I do think that that's a takeaway from Pokemon. Because we all know what it's like to be a loser. And you also know how much it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, but the friends that you've made along the way and what you've learned is more important. And I feel like that's the lesson that we've taken away from the show. So in some ways, perhaps that was the grand scheme, or maybe it just worked out that way. I don't know anything. I've never met anyone who actually wrote the show from in Japan. I only know the people who translated it, you know, or adapted it. So I don't know how they decided the story arc. But I do think that there's a great benefit to him not winning a lot. Because that's the life we all lead, you know, or we live. Because none of us win all the time. but you learn how to be a better loser. If you can see it modeled for you, you know? And Ash never gave up, and he makes, recently someone on Twitter put a reel together, maybe it was on YouTube, of all the like mean things that Ash said, which
Like Ash being sassy or something.
yeah, it was really, really funny. And I don't put together, he has quite a mouth on him, but but I don't, yeah, I know, but I don't remember him being kind of mean. But he always is kind of supportive of people. But he is only 10, so he does say things that I think,
Forever 10, I
hopefully
guess.
he would regret. But I think we learned how to be a better sport. That caveat aside, from that, the 20 things he said that weren't nice. They weren't that bad.
No.
But anyway, that's, to me, I think it's a good thing that he didn't win a lot. We strive harder in our real lives to win more, maybe. Yes?
What was your most hardest, like, voice to do?
I think Ash, in a way, was the most difficult because, and also the easiest. Because once I figured it out, it was easier to drop into it. It's the most challenging because it's stuck in here. And if you, so when you use your voice, it's resonating in different areas. So Ash is, he's back in here for sure, but it's also resonating here. So if you've got a cold and you're stuffy, so you've got to figure out how to, let's see, my nose is plugged up here. Let's see, I'm kind of here, and I have to figure out how to move it around so it's not stuffy. And then it can be, so my real voice is there. So you have to figure out how to move that. A higher voice you can usually get out of if you have a cold that's in your chest. That's up here, so you don't have to worry about this. But if your throat's scratchy and stuff, I think that's the hardest part. So not a specific voice, but kind of how to stay healthy and get over the landmines in your voice. Yes.
There might not be like many instances of this, but what is, like, who is your favorite voice actor you've worked with?
Oh my gosh, Rena, definitely.
Aw.
When she played Centric,
Yes.
and we were in the booth together.
Yes.
When she
But
was,
other than me.
okay, other than you, I would, every single person that I worked with at 4Kids was stellar. And when I say worked with, because we were never in the booth at the same time,
Yeah.
but we all knew each other.
Yeah,
And
of course.
the most amazing, just amazingly talented actors. Yeah, I would say, because even now that I've moved to LA, I work with a lot of people, but sometimes I don't even know who's in the cast, because we're so, at least there we were in the same building, and we'd go in and pass each other in the hall. But now, I go to a place or I'm working at home, and I don't even know who's in the cast. So, the good old days were good old days for that. Definitely.
And also everyone kind of worked on all the projects.
Right.
Too there. So you kind of knew that the same people might be in, you know, the 3 shows that you're working on that week or something.
Right.
Which is a lot different than now, when you're looking for,
Yeah.
you know, a bunch of different companies or different projects. So,
Right, and some things I do now, they use the code name, so when I'm like, yes, I'm available these 2 hours, and then I get into the session, I really don't know what we're working on. So I don't know then who else is in it, or I find out later who's in the cast because people tweet things out.
Yeah.
That's the first time I know. So I would definitely say in the good old 4Kids days, every single person there, I have only good things to say about them. So they'd be my favorite. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah.
What's your opinion on like the changes that 4Kids had made to the original content?
Yeah. I've not ever seen the original show to then compare it to what was rotoscoped out. I think that a lot of shows like One Piece, for instance,
Yeah.
would never, probably should never have been on Saturday morning, but it was. So it's, in some ways, is it better that they made it to be able to go to the standards and practices? Because they had to change things because children can't be seeing these things.
Right.
So is it better that people got a little bit of One Piece, or should that never have been on? I don't know. I think it's better that part of it was on. But a lot of that stuff had to be changed. So I think they just did what they had to do. So otherwise, I don't have any opinion on it. I'm just
Right.
thrilled that I got to work on stuff. So I only found out later that people didn't like it. So I don't know. But I think that if it's going to be on TV, like a broadcast, you have to know that it has to adhere to certain standards that cable or streaming, it doesn't matter.
Oh, so basically, for One Piece,
For One Piece,
even though it was canceled, or, I mean, you guys weren't able to dub it anymore?
yeah.
Is there a reason why you couldn't dub it, why did they cut that off?
Why did they take it off?
For for you guys to, do a kid version for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we had a lot of shows we worked on and then they just didn't come back. So, I mean, even with Pokemon, I was on for 8 years, but we never knew if it would continue until the season ended. And then we were waiting to find out if we would go on. So even with that, we never knew ahead of time. Other things like Fighting Foodons, I think that was on for 1 season and then just disappeared. Shaman King, I don't know how long that was on, not very long. One Piece. It could have been censorship, but I think it also was that when a lot of things that 4Kids was doing, they were had the licensing rights, the same as like Netflix has for stuff that they're doing, and I think that it's possible. None of this do I know, but I think it's possible that whoever owned it didn't renew, so it just didn't come back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. Because I always wondered, how that works.
Yeah. Well, that's something I don't fully know either because I wasn't involved with that at all.
Oh.
But a lot of it is licensing, so the 4Kids would be able to, I don't know, what they had. I couldn't really think about this because 4Kids made a lot of money and the actors didn't. And so you can either be upset all the time or just block it out, and I blocked it out. So all of that stuff is all a business thing that they were doing, and that every company does. Netflix does it. You name it. Whoever is producing things, the producers have stuff going on that, for instance, the actors or directors never see.
Oh, okay.
So all of that thing, I would say, was licensing.
And also, how did you like voicing Robin?
Which character?
Nico Robin.
Oh, Nico Robin?
Yeah.
She too was really fun, and I mean, who wouldn't want to have all those arms? And like, I don't know, she was really fun, and she had that southern accent, which was really fun to do. That I found out later people also hated. But I mean, the thing is that that's what they wanted, and I had a great time doing it.
It was really nice, yeah.
It was great. It was so fun. Any character that's really out there is
And evil.
yeah, and evil, and yeah, like all of that I really like. So I had a great time doing it. And even that, Funimation does the show now, so that was something that when they got it, they recast and did their own thing with it. So all of those things are difficult when you put your heart into something and then you just aren't in it anymore.
Yeah, I always see that, it's just like you guys, missed out on all that.
Right.
They cut it off, or you guys voice.
Yeah, it's just weird. It happens in every cartoon when there's a cast you're used to and then they change it. So, whatever. I mean, there's only so much time you can spend on it, right? Then you decide as the viewer, do I watch it or not? And then you just move on. We all move forward together.
Thank you.
You have a question? Yeah. How difficult was it doing fighting scenes in Dragon Ball Super? Because
know, like in Pokemon, you don't really do that, you just like battle.
Right.
Like how difficult was it?
Yeah, Dragon Ball, there's a lot of fighting, and a lot of yelling, which is good that I don't have to do that from the closet in my apartment. It's not hard, but you really have to figure out where to place your voice, so that, because you could like, ah, yell from here, ah, if you're really supporting it, you can get a clearer sound, and you can yell for a lot longer. So you have to consciously place your voice differently. So it can be hard, and you can also make it a little bit easier on yourself. But super fun. And especially to be Ribrianne, and she was larger than life, and throwing those hearts around. And like one thing I remember especially, I think it was Goku that she sent flying through a mountain, and busting through the mountain was all heart-shaped as he went through. Like, hilarious! I just loved that so much. Anyway, literally loved it. Yeah, so it was hard, but not hard.
But also, you trained for that. You did stage combat, and so, and a lot of video games. Some of your lines in video games are just reacts, and just like falling or making a move or a grunt or things. So I think also you specifically have had a lot of practice on figuring out like the best way to do that, and a lot of cartoons will have you do reacts as well. So like, like that kind of stuff. And so that, or like a being pushed, shoved, or something like that. So you kind of you get a lot of practice because you're doing it in a lot of different things. So.
And also for video games, you often have to do like three throws and 3 getting hits, and you get hit like a small damage, big damage, and you have to, in your mind, you have to work through all of that. So at least when you're dubbing something, you can see it, so it's a little easier to give the voice to it. But definitely Pokemon, we didn't have to scream as much as Dragon Ball is all screaming. So that's big.
Yeah, because I always thought, you know, in the video games, you know how they do the repeat of the sound, you know, when it moves, or
yeah.
I always thought you guys just, you know, recycle that voice clip or whatever, and just, you know.
I think some of it might be.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing a video game, they say, okay, it is that, like, give us three throws. So depending on the character, Ash, let's say he was in it, he would go, like those things. Okay, can you do it not so much effort? So you do that, and then to get hit, and then harder, you know, so you have to imagine all of that. So the video game probably does recycle that. Because you're not doing 20 reacts. I mean, sometimes you do, but yes.
What was it like voicing Sailor Pluto?
Sailor Pluto is very difficult for me because she's not allowed to show emotion. So she has to be incredibly reserved, even though her heart underneath it all is very big. So we actually had to go back and re-record things because she was too emotional, too warm. So for me, it's very hard to be so standoffish.
Yeah, like deep inside, she's like a big sister.
Yes, deep inside. But I think ultimately from her being out at the ends of space and time, standing at that doorway all by herself for so long, I don't think she really knows how to talk to people anymore. Yeah. So when she does come down to Earth, she's always figuring it out again, you know? So that's a great thing to play.
Reincarnation, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and when she comes back in her lab coat, gets to like be kind of human. It's pretty awesome. I think we're supposed to finish up soonish. So let's think about if you have any other questions, and then yes, and then you're next.
You mentioned something about like the actors not getting paid a lot with the 40. So and I was my question was, even before you said that, was with the voice acting in regards to like royalties.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that? Like
there are a few things that have royalties.
It really depends. It really depends on on
Contract.
the contract and the project and the company.
Yes.
Because if it's union.
And also not.
Right.
It's
But
really
that's,
the
you know,
contract, because, for instance, since we're being so candid, you know what's really cool is all this stuff that Netflix is playing, but no one gets paid. So I'm thrilled that Pokemon keeps going and going, but I got paid by the hour. So the same for any of these things. A lot of things that stream, you just get paid either a flat fee or the session fee. And if you're good, you work less time, so you get paid less. So that's basically it.
But it depends. I mean, some projects, you know, like, I think The Simpsons too, like they get paid a lot.
And they also, because where that is on TV, there's so much advertising that goes in, they demanded to be paid better because everybody else was making money off of that.
Right.
And it worked out for them.
So there are some shows that do, the actors who are on that get treated very well.
And most
And
things, no.
deservedly so.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
But most projects, no.
So for the most part on the cartoons, the actors are not getting the royalties on all the toys and.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I would say in my experience, never. But in, some people might, and it depends on their contract, I suppose. But I would hazard a guess to say no. Yeah. So, yeah, it's exciting. So it's definitely if you're not working, you're not making any money situation. So I
But some
try to work
shows-
every day.
Some shows you can get residuals, so like if it's on, you'll get paid for when it comes back on the air. So some shows you get that. But again, it's all part of the contract, and the amount of money that you get paid for residuals also varies and is not a lot. So it just depends.
Yeah.
It's really, really varied.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yes. Did you have a question?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
If there were a alternate you, or if you got to choose which character you wanted to voice,
Yeah.
or if you went into voice acting, what would your other job be besides voice acting, and what characters would you like, or what voice act?
Do you mean other characters in other shows that I wish I was playing?
Or like characters that you like but you don't voice them?
Yeah. Everything I auditioned for, I wish I was playing. But I wish I did play a superhero. Like, I think that would be so fun. But ultimately, it's the average characters that are the superheroes, you know? So, I mean, Ash is a superhero in his normalness. I think teachers are superheroes, you know, because they show up every day and they do their best work. I don't know other shows that I wish I were on, but I wish I were on some shows that paid residuals. I would like to say that right now. Just putting it out there, all the passion. Still time. Yeah. But if I wasn't an actor, one thing that I really am interested in is archaeology, and I think as an actor, I'm constantly digging deeper beneath the surface of the characters I play, and so archaeology is similar to that because you're uncovering things and finding lost treasures. And I think what we all can be every day now is ecology minded and saving the planet. So that's what the superhero job we all have now, I think. But together we can do it. Yes?
A question for your daughter. You mentioned that she was in voice acting, correct? What's like 3 things you like that's your most popular?
All my most popular credits.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was Sentret in Pokemon.
Yes.
I'm
had
a
to
child,
lift
a
Rena
child
up.
star. This all
Yes.
happened like before I could read. So I was like 4. So I was Sentret, and I've been in this animated movie called The Boy Who Wanted to Be a Bear. And I played the little girl bear, again, before I could really read.
Right, Rita was in the booth at the microphone watching the picture, and I was sitting on the floor, and I would read what the line would be, and then she would hear the 3 beeps and then say it while she was watching.
Right.
But I had to read for her. It was adorable. She
Yeah.
was very good.
Yep, my claim to fame
Aria?
is that. Yep, I've done a couple of like small background voices in Aria, that cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, the great thing about coming to work with my mom is that if they need additional voices, I'm there, and so I could be like, yeah, sure, I do it, or, you know. So I haven't actively been like auditioning for a bunch of things, but I have been in a couple of things.
We're thinking of starting a podcast.
Yeah.
And so we will be running some questionnaires on Twitter
Yes.
or Instagram.
So follow,
What do you think is best?
follow Veronica at the Veronica T on
Yeah.
Twitter and Instagram.
But we need input because we have ideas of where we want to go with it, but we're going to be doing some questionnaires.
Yeah, so make sure you're following on those two, so I think we'll put them out on both.
Yeah. Because we definitely want to have a little bit of a
Yeah.
audience participation with it. So that's enough said for now.
Yes.
Drop that.
You know how people are like, I'm working on something, I can't tell you
I
what
can't
it
tell
is.
you anything.
We can't tell you anything else.
Because we
Super
don't
top
know
secret.
yet. No, we do know.
We do. We
No.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
Question. So great.
Yeah.
Another thing about, you know, other voice actors,
Yeah.
on Twitter, I can see that Max Middleman, Ray Chase, and Robbie Dan are following you.
Yes.
Oh.
How have your experiences been with them?
Shall I tell you about my experience with those men? Is that what you're asking? I've worked with them on some shows, and I've been at conventions with them, and they're so great.
Yeah, they're all so nice.
We haven't invited anyone over to our apartment, so we've hung out with them at opening parties
Yeah.
for shows we've worked on. Yeah, so super great, super normal people. I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, really great. So does that mean since they're following me, you would? Should I
Oh,
get
yeah,
more
I've been-
people that
I've
you
been-
like?
No.
Totally kidding, but like that is something that when you see, oh, these people that I like are following this person, that sways me a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I do mean that in a positive way. I'm gonna have to attract some other people.
Yeah.
Now that I know, other people look at that like I do. So, yeah, thank you.
Do you have time for one?
Last, okay, you in the back and then I'll come up to you. Yes?
Something I wanted to know is that out of all the characters you voice, are there like any 2 or more that you want to meet?
Oh, that I'd like to meet.
Uh-huh.
That question took a turn I didn't expect. Meet. Ash's mom. Wouldn't that be great if she came over? And Mr. Mime. Oh my gosh. Ash's mom could come and create a garden in the parking lot of our apartment, and then Mr. Mime would cook.
I know.
Oh
they
my
love
gosh.
to do that. They love to work.
Yes, they love to work.
Clean.
We need that.
So great.
Now, you can tell we've been stuck at home for a long time. So maybe a year and a half ago, who I'd like to meet would have been different.
Maybe Max from Dinosaur King, because I'd like to meet the dinosaurs.
Love dinosaurs.
Yeah, it would be purely, transactional. I'd love to meet him to get to the dinosaurs.
That's right. That would be
No
good.
offense.
We were so close to Cabazon right now,
Yeah.
it's almost, we can meet them on our own.
So,
Yeah, I think that's it right now. Nobody else?
and Slayers.
Amelia.
Because they would have really good food that we could eat.
Oh my gosh. Does anybody watch Slayers? They're
Not yet.
constantly eating in that show. I remember some bits of it, but mostly the eating. And the plates piling up. I love that so much. Our kitchen looks like that. Kidding. Now when Mr. Mike comes.
Yeah.
Yes, you had a question.
That's not like the last one I want to see it.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay.
That's it. One more.
Yes, go ahead.
What's your favorite kind of food?
Oh, all of it.
Yes.
All of it.
You know,
Honestly, all of it.
yeah, it
I love
depends on the day.
sushi, I love Indian food, Thai food,
Yes. traveled,
food.
we've gone to some great restaurants. Like when you
Yeah.
said that, there's an Indian restaurant we went to in Toronto.
Oh,
So great.
Montreal.
No, that was Toronto, and then the other one's in Montreal. Anyway, the point is, we've been lucky to go to, oh yeah, maybe it was.
It was Montreal.
Yeah.
So good.
But what, we go farm to table.
Yeah.
We always go to the farmer's market, we shop there, we buy like necessities at the grocery store, but we go to the farmer's market. We go to the farmer's market when we travel. Bring home jam. I brought basil home one time. This huge thing of basil in my suitcase. I mean, ridiculous. And it made great pesto. But stuff like that. So it's really about quality as close to the coming right out of the ground as we can get.
Except we did, when we were in Montreal, have this delicious lobster poutine.
Oh my God.
And poutine is French fries with cheese curds, I guess, and gravy. So good. But this had like lobster. I don't know.
We love farmers market with vegetables and with the French fries with the gravy.
This is probably the farthest
Oh
from
my
dessert.
God.
But
Anyway,
it was really
join
good.
us around the world and eat with us.
Just eating.
Yeah.
But yeah, literally anything.
And don't you guys miss like just sitting around with a bunch of people having food? I mean, that's what we've all been so alone for so long. We went out to eat last night, actually in a restaurant, and there was a group of women eating dinner. We were like, I wish I had friends. Like, we've not been able to do anything with anyone for so long. That, I mean, even this, we're sitting together. Next time, let's all just, well, we'll bring pictures of food since we have to wear our masks. That we can put up here.
Oh God.
But anyway, like, by this time next year, maybe we can all have a meal together, which would be so nice as we get back to normal.
Oh yeah, that would be nice.
But anyway, your last
Nice idea.
question, that was a good one, though. I'm hungry.
So you've obviously worked with Sean, the voice of Goku.
Yes.
Is it true that his voice is always dead, like after recording, because he's?
Oh, I don't know about that. I couldn't answer that. I doubt it. He does give his 100% in the booth for sure. But I've never worked with him in the booth, so I don't know. But I mean, how long has he been doing Goku? 20 years? It can't be that dead when he gets out of the booth because he certainly takes care of himself. He's incredible.
I've just seen a few, like the recordings he does, like how red he gets. Like I think it was when he did the Dragon Ball movie, like the first, the Super movie.
Yeah.
When he's like, I will not let you destroy my world. When I saw him do that, I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
I've seen him do those kinds of screens in the shows all the time. How the heck does he pull that off?
I know. Yeah, he works really hard. You know what I hated about that movie is that the music was up so high that you couldn't hear the voices and what those people were doing.
Screaming.
Those incredible performances, and the music was mixed too high. I thought that was a bit of a crime because they were so good, and in the movie theater you couldn't hear them as well. Maybe when you see it at home it's better. I don't know, but I mean those performances were incredible. Yeah.
Like online, I think it's perfectly fine. But
Oh, good.
I think I only saw it like once in the theater, and that was years ago, so I can't quite remember. But just know that online and also on movies and all that. You can definitely hear him a lot through the.
He's great. He is great. I've worked with him he was a director, and I've worked with him as an actor. So I think it's true. I think you all are terrific. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
I'm glad to use this.
Whoa. So we are here the rest of today. We're here all day tomorrow. Tomorrow we have another Q&A. We have a character voice workshop where we'll talk about how to create a voice and what goes into that. Yeah, and we'll need you to respond to our questionnaire at some point.
Yes.
And in the next 2 weeks, so keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much, and I really want to say thank you for all of us wearing our masks for this. It's a very tricky time. We've made it this far, and I really want to continue. And so thank you for doing this, for all of our safety. I'm really just so pleased, and because we all have our masks on, we can get together and like be face-to-face talking, and I've missed this so much. So anyway, thank you guys. Go in health, and we'll see you at the show. Have a great time.